Book of Heaven, Volume 12. 1st to the 28th of May 1920. Page 153 to 157. May 1, 1920. The sanctity of one who lives in the divine will is a continuous, glory be. One who lives in the divine will, living on a high place, must bear the pains of those who live down below. My misery makes itself felt more and more. I was saying in my interior, "My Jesus, what a life mine is." And he, without giving me time to say anything else, quickly answered, "My daughter, for one who lives in my will, sanctity has only one point, a continuous, glory be, followed by, as it was in beginning, it is now and ever shall be, world without end." There is nothing in which she does not give glory to God, complete in everything, always stable, always equal, always queen, without ever changing. This sanctity is not subject to setbacks or losses, but to always reigning. Therefore, its foundation is the glory be, and its prerogative is the as it was in the beginning, etc. As I continued to lament about his privations and the subtractions of suffering, while he gives it out abundantly to others, my always lovable Jesus came out from within my interior, and placing his head on my shoulder, all afflicted, told me, "My daughter, one who lives in my will lives on a high place, and one who lives on a high place can look down below with more clarity. She has to take part in the decisions, in the afflictions and in everything which befits persons who live on a high place. Don't you see this in the world? Sometimes only father and mother do, and sometimes also the eldest child is able to take part in the decisions and in the sufferings of the parents. While they are under the nightmare of painful sufferings, uncertainties, intrigues, losses, the other little children don't know anything about it. Rather, they let them play, and continue the course of ordinary family life, not wanting to embitter those tender lives, without a useful purpose for them, and for the parents. The same happens in the order of grace. One who is little, and still growing, lives down below. Therefore, purges are necessary in order to make her grow in sanctity. It would be as if one wanted to talk about business, intrigues, pains, to the little ones of the family. They would be stunned, and would not understand a thing. But one who lives in my will, living on a high place, must bear the pains of those who live down below, see their dangers, help them, take such serious decisions as to make one tremble, while they remain tranquil. Therefore, calm yourself. We will have a communal life in my will, and together with me you will take part in the sufferings of the human family. You will watch over the great storms which will arise again, and while they play in the midst of danger, you will cry with me over their misfortune. May 15, 1920. The divine will forms the complete crucifixion in the soul. I was lamenting to my sweet Jesus, telling him, "Where are your promises? No more cross, no more likeness to you. Everything has vanished, there is nothing left for me but to cry over my painful end." And Jesus, moving, told me in my interior, "My daughter, my crucifixion was complete, and do you know why? Because it was done in the eternal will of my Father. In this will, the cross became so long and so wide as to embrace all centuries, and penetrate into every heart, past, present and future, in such a way that I remained crucified in the heart of each creature. This divine will put nails through all of my interior, into my desires, into my affections and into my heartbeats. I can say that I did not have a life of my own, but the life of the eternal will, which enclosed all the creatures within me, and which wanted me to answer for all. My crucifixion could never have been complete and so extensive as to embrace all, if the eternal volition had not been the actor. I want that in you also the crucifixion be complete and extended to all. This is the reason for the continuous call into my will, for pushing you to bring the whole human family before the Supreme Majesty, and to emit, in the name of all, the acts which they do not do. Oblivion of yourself and lack of self-reflections are nothing other than the nails put by my will. My will does not know how to do small or incomplete things. Placing itself around the soul like a crown, it wants her within itself, and spreading her within the whole sphere of its eternal volition, it puts the seal of its completion upon her. My will empties the interior of the creature of all that is human, and places in her all that is divine. And in order to be more sure, it keeps on sealing all of her interior with as many nails for as many human acts as can have life in the creature, substituting them with as many divine acts. In this way, it forms the true crucifixion in her, not for a time, but for her entire life. May 24, 1920. The acts done in the divine will be the defenders of the divine throne, not only in the present time, but until the end of centuries. Continuing in my usual state, my always lovable Jesus told me, "My daughter, the acts done in my will dissolve the human acts, and identifying themselves with my divine acts, they rise up to heaven, circulate in everyone, embrace all centuries, all points and all creatures. And since they remain fixed in my will, these acts are, and will be, the defenders of my throne for each offense which creatures give to me, not only in the present time, but until the end of the centuries. Rising to defend me, they will make reparations counter to the offenses that creatures will make. The acts done in my will have the virtue of multiplying themselves according to the need and the circumstances which my glory requires. What will the happiness of the soul be, when she finds herself up there in heaven, and sees her acts done in my will, as defenders of my throne, and which, having a continuous echo of reparation, will reject the echo of the offenses that come from the earth. Therefore, the glory in heaven of the soul who lives in my will on earth will be different from that of the other blessed. The others will draw all their contentments from me, while these souls will not only draw them from me, but will also have their own little rivers within my sea. As they lived in my volition on earth, they formed them by themselves within my sea. It is just that in heaven too they have this little river of happiness and contentments, which will extend over all the blessed. How beautiful are these rivers, within my sea! They pour into me, and I into them. It will be an enchanting sight, at which all the blessed will remain astonished. May 28, 1920. The acts done in the divine will enter into the sphere of eternity, and run always ahead of all human acts. I was offering myself in the holy sacrifice of the Mass together with Jesus, so that I too might receive his same consecration. And he, moving in my interior, told me, "My daughter, enter into my will, so that you may find yourself in all of the hosts, not only of the present, but also of the future. In this way you will receive, together with me, as many consecrations as I receive. In each host I place one life of mine, and I want another one in exchange. But how many do not give it to me? Others receive me, I give myself to them, but they do not give themselves to me, and my love remains suffering, hampered, suffocated, unrequited. Therefore, come into my will to receive all the consecrations which I receive, and I will find your life in exchange, in each host, not only for as long as you remain on earth, but also when you are in heaven. In fact, since you have been consecrated in advance while being in my will on earth, just as I will receive consecrations until the end, you too will receive them, and I will find the exchange of your life unto the last day." Then he added, "The acts done in my will are those which always excel over all, and have supremacy over all. Since they are done in my will, they enter into the sphere of eternity, and taking the first places, they leave all humans' acts behind, running always ahead. Nor can whether they are performed before or after have any influence, whether in one era or in another, or whether they are small or great. It is enough that they be performed in my will for them to be always among the first ones, and to run ahead of all the human acts. They are similar to the oil, mixed together with other edibles, maybe even things of greater value, even gold or silver, or foods of great substance. They all remain underneath, while the oil excels on top of them. It never lowers itself to be under. Even in minimal quantity, with its little mirror of light, it seems to be saying, I am here to excel over all. I do not band together with other things, nor do I blend with them. In the same way, the acts done in my volition, because they are performed in my will, become light, but a light which is bound to, and identified with the eternal light. They do not mix with the human acts. Rather, they have the virtue of turning human acts into divine. Therefore, they leave everything behind, while they are the first among all.